Hey, everybody, welcome to the Buffalo Plus channel on YouTube. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for being with us today. Jenna Cottrell getting a well-deserved week off, a little vacation. Dan Fates getting a well-deserved day off after spending time at the NFL Combine. And news coming out today, I think it was Ian Rappaport of NFL Network that had it first, or Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, saying that the Bills have given permission to Cole Beasley and his agent to seek a trade. And it should not come as any big surprise to any Bills fans that this is where this is progressing to. When asked about it, Brandon Beane at the NFL Combine said, they have some decisions to make. Here's the deal with Beasley. Beasley's making a considerable amount of money on his contract for this year. The Bills can save a considerable amount of money if they were to let him go. Now, that's an easy thing to say, right? Let a player go, save money. The question is, do you want the player, or do you want them at a lesser number, or do you not want them at all? I mean, that would be what the Bills are facing here. And Beasley is an interesting guy. I'm going to take the whole COVID vaccine thing out of it. I think the Bills think about football, and I think they believe in continuity of a team. And whatever issues there were with Beasley that I did think caused some anxiety, maybe in the front office, more so than in the locker room, I don't think that's what the thing is now. This is about football. This is about what you can do for me now and going forward. And sure, money is a factor. My guess is, and a lot of people have speculated, that maybe the Bills gave him a lower number and said, come back at this because, I like what Andrew Brandt says about contracts. He says they're suggestions in the NFL, right? They're written in pencil, not in paper. The Bills had a number they were going to pay him. And at the end, they're like, nah, we don't want to pay you that. So we'll offer you less. If you want that, fine. If not, go ahead and try to find a trade. If not, he'll probably be released. And that's the way it goes in the NFL. When a player gets permission to seek a trade, everybody around the league knows, okay, we can make a deal for this guy, but this is the first step before that team releases him. It just is, because salary cap is one thing. If the Bills had to have Cole Beasley on the roster, they would make it work. They don't need to do anything with his contract. They just don't want to pay him that much this year. But I really do believe it's the first step towards him going. And look, are there teams out there that might make a play for Beasley? Sure. I think he caught 82 passes each of the last 2 years. That's great production. But you're Bills fans. You watch. Beasley is still good. I don't believe he's as much of a difference maker as he's been in the past. And the other part you have to look at with this is the Bills have some other decisions to make. And this is where, when you have a quarterback of Josh Allen's ability, you start to hedge on some of these other decisions. And follow me when I say this. You do have Stephon Diggs. You do have Gabriel Davis. You do have Dawson Knox. And heck, we can talk about Gronk too. Maybe that's a possibility down the line. But the idea being, when you have Josh Allen, you can't throw him out there without weapons. Some teams have done that. They think they have the quarterback and they give him limited weapons. And I'm not just talking about Aaron Rodgers, who whines about everything. I'm talking about guys who've had very limited guys. And then you're like, why are they doing this to him? And eventually get some help. And he, does very well. But in terms of Allen, with that group, he can make a lot of plays. And there are, whether it's young players or other veterans, maybe a little younger, maybe who do some different things, maybe who could beat man coverage a little bit more. I think the Bills would be interested in doing that. It opens up some possibilities for him. Now, again, I'm not shutting the door on Beasley ever coming back because, sometimes they just offer a player a certain contract. You want it, fine. If not, we'll release you. In this case, they gave him the opportunity to seek a trade. And if he was traded, my guess it would be for a late round draft pick. I mean, you're talking 5th at the most, 6th, more likely, 7th. In that case, I think the Bills would say, thank you, Cole. Wish him well. He would go on to another team. They'd take the draft pick and use it in the mix for this year or next year. That could happen. I mean, he is a player who plays an important role on a team. And not everybody has the weapons that the Bills have. Not everybody has the quarterback that the Bills have. So there are teams that it might make sense deal for a guy like Beasley and let him play and see what you get. And it could happen. Um, and I don't know if Isaiah McKenzie is the full-time replacement if they decide to let Cole Beasley go and give McKenzie more of a role there. But they could find players to play in that spot, and Josh Allen can elevate them. And that's the reality of having a quarterback like Allen. He will elevate the guys on the team. I mean, he he makes plays. Look at the the playoff game against Kansas City. Diggs maybe wasn't as big a factor, but you got 4 touchdowns and 200 yards out of Gabriel Davis, who's a really good player, but he's not 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. At least he hasn't been, and that's what you got out of him because Allen was Allen in that game. Look what he did with McKenzie in the game in Foxborough. I mean, Isaiah McKenzie's a nice piece to have on the team. He's not that guy. With Allen, he can be, at least at times. So I think, these are decisions teams have to make. And look, we can talk about how much everybody hates the New England Patriots, but these are the types of decisions they've made through the years, and they replace a player. And a lot of times they have a young player on the roster they can give more, snaps to in that spot. I don't know if they have that guy. But again, in the short term, it could be a guy like McKenzie. And there are a lot of wide receivers in this draft. And there are a lot of players who could come in and fill a role. And you still have Emmanuel Sanders out there. My impression is Sanders is going to sit back and wait. And if he does come back, I think it could be to the Bills. He could be one of those guys that signs a deal in August and comes back if they need him. And I'm just throwing that out there because he obviously enjoyed his time in Buffalo. He's been around this league a long time. He's gotten a Super Bowl. He doesn't need it. But, let's see where we are in July or August. And I think that could be a possibility. But they're going to be looking. They were looking at the combine, at the wide receivers. They're definitely going to look. And they'll be looking in free agency, too, to try to fill that spot. So, again, I'm not surprised at all. I think there'll be some interest in Beasley. Most teams don't jump quickly on something like this, but they could, right? I mean, and then what do? If you're a team and you trade for Beasley, you get that contract. Do you automatically then re-up him, try to lower that number, make it a 3-year, more like a 2-year deal, and go from there? Sure. And again, there are teams. And I know the first thing a lot of you are thinking about, how about the Patriots? Because this is the kind of move they would make in the past. But honestly, skill set wise and age wise and miles on the body wise, this is the time in the past when New England was moving on from a player, not necessarily bringing them in, because all those guys we talked about still had a lot of tread on the tire. Now, I don't doubt Beasley as an athlete. I don't doubt him as a competitor. I just think there's a point where it's diminishing returns and at that amount of money. So we'll see where this plays out. I would say there is a possibility of a trade, more likely possibility of a release. And I think even a guy like Beasley, once a team says, go ahead and look, do you just come back at a lesser number then? He could have done that now. I think he believes there'll be a place for him, even if they release him by the beginning of the new year to try to free up some cap money to go fishing for some free agents. I wanted to add in about the Gronk stuff. Look, it's interesting, right? And I do believe, Gronk could be a guy that says, I want to play for Tommy, right? I want to play for Brady. And you get it. I mean, Brady and Gronk together, phenomenal. I mean, they won it again 2 seasons ago in Tampa. It looks like Brady's done, but, he likes hearing his name a lot too. So Gronk would know more than anybody whether there's the possibility of Brady coming back. But would it work in Buffalo? At the right number, it could, right? And that's got to be a relatively low number, relatively low, because Dawson Knox is going to get paid. He's your future at that position. Not that Gronk isn't an all-timer, first ballot Hall of Famer at tight end. I'd say first ballot, but he's not that guy in total anymore. He does get banged up. He's got miles on him, but he's also a player who makes catches in the clutch. He is a matchup nightmare. And he is a willing and effective blocker, still is. And that is a nice second tight end to have if he were to decide he wants to do that. And look, we know he's from Buffalo. He also knows he's not coming back there for charity to be at home. He'd come back because I can play for Buffalo and help them win a Super Bowl. because they have Josh Allen in the roster that they do. So that's going to be one that's interesting to keep an eye on where that goes. I think the Bills have been in contact with him. It was Tim Graham who had the article in The Athletic. I think they've been in contact with him. They certainly were before, and then he decided to go with Brady. I think the Bills think if he wants to play and it's not Brady, they have a very, very good chance to get him. But again, it's going to take the right number. And I think they need to tell him, stop with those stupid commercials. I mean, let the veterans have their insurance with their families. We don't get it, Gronk. It wasn't funny. It wasn't cute. It's just not good. So stop doing those commercials. Make your money on the football field or Subway or wherever else he's going to do commercials. But those are terrible and they need to stop. Anyhow, just a quick update on everything. We've got tons of content here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Again, Dan was out there all week long at the NFL Combine. He's got great stuff with not only players, college players, certainly the whole Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott interviews on there, and add into the mix. Dan's got interviews with people like Greg Cosell of the NFL, who does great work in breaking down players around the league. I think he's the kind of guy you want to listen to about what the Bills are doing going forward. So we have plenty of content on there. Make sure you check it out anytime you get a chance on the Buffalo Plus channel on YouTube. For our entire team, I'm Mike Catalana. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Buffalo Plus.